That's funny.
It's Wednesday. It is time for BRAP. I'm back. I did a stream yesterday. I feel like I've been streaming the last, I don't know. I feel like I've been streaming the last 72 hours or so, just nonstop. But no, there's been, in part because there's been a lot to talk about. Microsoft had their, I guess would be kind of like their E3 show, I guess. Their Xbox Bethesda Showcase, World Premiere, that kind of stuff. And then we had Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. And then yesterday we had Microsoft's Extended Game Showcase. So, and then Capcom did their thing. And so, a lot of gaming stuff to talk about. But before we start the show, I do want to introduce my returning guest this evening. We have Game Logic. What's up, Game Logic?
Not much, man. How you doing? It's been a long day.
Yes, it has been a long day.
Been in the trenches.
Need
Some reinforcements here tonight.
Well, I gotta say we had a very great conversation about Batman and Marvel yesterday. So I think at some point we have to do a podcast about Batman and Marvel and all that other stuff. So, and then we have returning guest, the man, the Dark One himself, Dark Optimus. D.O. I'm going to start calling you Do from now on. What's up, Do? How are you today, man?
Good, man.
Do for short, right? I don't know.
Sure. Whatever,
sure.
You know, floats your dress.
Whatever,
sure. You know.
Whatever floats my boat, huh?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, it's great to have you back, though. Seriously, great to have you back. Big shout. By the way, big shout to everyone in the live chat.
Who's here? I mean, does anybody ever actually watch this show still?
I don't know. I don't know if anyone really watched this show. Fuck if I know. I mean, you know, I got actually, first of all, let's see if usual suspects are in here. So thank you guys. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the live chat. Please retweet the link if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. And again, hit the like button. What's that?
I said, I guess I could share it out.
Oh, come on, man. You got to share it out. But, yeah, what was I going to say here? You know, man, there's just some weird shit going on. I don't even know what, I feel like there was like a full moon on Sunday, I think. I think that affected this week because I saw the lady from G4 TV go off and tell people to suck stuff and I'm just like, oh, okay. So you know, we have receipts and we pull them, and I didn't know that G4 TV was a comedy show because apparently, it's I was talking on a comedy show. What?
It's satire.
No, we have you on camera saying these things, and now you want to say it's satire? Like, what? Excuse me? You know, and then you want to tell everyone to go suck Sony's thingy, and yeah, I'm just like, wow, like this is the same person who got upset and went on this whole tirade about women being marginalized and all this other stuff, and here she is just barking off obscenities and just being grotesque. So it was kind of weird.
You can clearly tell that she's very unprofessional.
I could tell she is clearly, she gives me those Amber Heard vibes.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. I mean,
don't know if I go that far,
the way, I mean, the way she came out, like She got it. Like she was like mad. Like she just went like full on like she just hulked
She
out
was,
on the.
yeah, she was literally mad at Porter for whatever he said. I mean, I didn't even think he said anything bad. I mean, he was just pointing out a fact that, what's going on, and she just took it way left real quick because she couldn't come up with anything else.
Well, I mean, because she was on tape camera saying that in 2022, Xbox was going to what did she say? Like run shop on PlayStation or something? I forget the
It's
exact
gonna
words.
smoke the shit out of. It's gonna smoke Sony until they get their act together. That's what she said.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure why. That was like that was first of all, it was a very bad take when she made it, and then when it's brought up again, it's like she just went full on nuts. Like she really like she could have handled that differently,
So
Yeah.
so let me ask. It seems like, and I'm asking a directly opposing question to try and surface some feedback, right? It seems like when takes are made like that about Sony doing that to Xbox, it doesn't seem like it's taken as, a thing to take someone to task over. So I just want to, do we think if she had said the same thing about PlayStation over Xbox, that there would have been as much of a ruckus?
No, because
there wouldn't have been. Yeah, there wouldn't have been. There
No.
would have been no ruckus at all. There would
But-
have just been people would just been like, oh, okay. Well,
but the fact is,
yeah,
there was,
it's different.
it's different because there's no. I mean, that's like me saying the Washington Commanders are going to smoke the LA Rams. If I said something like that, you'd be like, "What are you talking about? Like, have you seen both teams? Like, why would you
I
say
would
that?"
definitely ask you if you're high because I'd be like, "Did you see have you seen their team? I mean, come on."
Yeah, that's like exactly. If I said Optimus, the Commanders are going to go into LA in 2022 because they can't get their act together and they're going to be dead man walking, and you're going to be like, "Excuse me, we just won the Super Bowl. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?"
Right? Yeah. I mean,
like,
they're gonna have a tougher time, but I mean, it's not gonna be nothing like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it would if it was if it was role reversed. If she said that, people would be like, yeah, that's probably going to happen. Sony's probably going to steamroll them. Just given.
Okay. But what you guys are saying, it's not a matter of that she was being positive Xbox critical of Sony, but it was a matter that people feel like she stretched it to hyperbole.
She totally stretched it to hyperbole.
Which she spelt wrong, by the way.
She did spell hyperbole incorrectly. Look, I'm guilty of misspelling. I
know we all are.
We all are. Look, I mean,
it was just funny that people were pointing it out.
It was pretty funny, but then she.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and then on another note,
point out stupid shit that they do too. It's funny.
Yeah, and then on another note, I think Logic, you might appreciate this. I was actually blocked by Destin Legary because he put something out that I was like, "What, dude? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "You're like the Fox News of gaming journalists," and he blocked me.
Well, you gotta realize, man, you're dealing with, California is a very liberal state, so you're dealing with people who are like, there's the radical left, and then there's the normal type of sane type of left, and he lives in a city where it's very radical left, so you offended him pretty hard.
I mean, he puts out some weird shit, like some of like the stuff that he does. I'm like, dude, like you can't get upset for people coming at you when you're stoking the fires, when you're chumming the waters, right? You don't get mad when Jaws pops out of the water and bites you in the ass.
Well, my thing too is like, what in the flip has gone on with the blue check marks in just gaming journalism? And I use that term loosely. In fact, I'm very close to just no longer applying it at all. Over the last few days, like PC Gamer, Paul Tassi, Kotaku, like everyone has just like skewed over to like the common basic console war type of dialogue and headlines. That's the thing that bugs me. And IGN, let me throw them in that pool too. Like I mean, as I said at the beginning of the year, like Twitter fan reactions are not. That's not a news article, right? I'm like, that clearly represents to me that you have writers. Number one, it's a very slow news cycle, and you have writers that are just like chumming the bottom of the water, right? To treading the bottom of the water to surface anything to write about. It's really sad. It's really particularly sad for me who, onboarded reading PC Gamer back when like Gary Whitta was the editor in chief, and then Greg Viederman, after him, like that publication has just become like an Inquirer type rag under Evan Lottie, and like I don't really understand it, and I don't understand why in the past few days, particularly over Starfield, like everybody has just gone to just non-credible corners of criticism, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, you said you hit the nail on the head. You said slow news cycles, so I think we're in the age of the 24/7 news cycle, and anything's news these days. I mean, we had Jeff. I remember the first time we had Jeff Grubb on, and the BRAP podcast was a news story because of something Jeff Grubb said. I'm like, why? It's just I think it's just the world that we live in, man. Like, they gotta feed the beast. They gotta keep engagement. They gotta get clicks. But you are right though. Like I have noticed that too. Logic. I think it's gotten worse this generation than the previous generation.
They have to, because they know that they're at that moment. They're at that moment of like they're kind of a dying breed, because people are getting their news elsewhere besides just IGN, Game Informer, GameSpot, all those Kotaku, GamesBeat, all those, bigger companies. People are getting their information from YouTubers. They're getting their information from people that they talk to on Twitter. So it's just, they know that they have to do something in order to keep up with the um, the popularity. And sometimes, and a lot of times, especially now, it's a lot of just filler crap that they spew through their articles and stuff. And I mean, some of their articles are good, but a lot of their articles have just lately, especially when there's no gaming news, it's just a bunch of shit that isn't even worth reading at all.
Yeah, it
But
just
you read it because it's clickbaity, you know.
it just all puts all of us on that path of slouching towards Bethlehem, and and it just all makes us spin, faster and faster towards, the world of idiocracy, because
Right.
because they've
Which,
allowed that to become the standard.
well, I'm telling you, I'm counting down the days till we all start drinking Brondo. So
Upgraded.
Mediocrity. Yeah, I love that movie. That movie's so funny.
oh my god, yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, I don't know. It was just funny. Like I was like making a joke, and Destin's like, and he blocked me quick. Like as soon as I said it, he's like block. I'm like, damn, dude.
Yeah, that's we call that the Jason Schreier maneuver.
I'm like, holy
Well,
shit.
you got to understand that he is,
I think it's a game for him.
You say Fox News, and anybody, that is radical in that leftist side
Should I
will,
have said
you know,
MSNBC or something? Like, I mean,
I
that
mean,
may have
who
guarded
knows?
me a follow, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, you had a good criticism yesterday, right? You said you also likened it to, this whole dynamic, right, to CNN, right, in the culmination of the 24-hour news cycle, and just how that just has led to, as Autumn has said, like filler crap, that just has to populate the timeline because we have to have something in the timeline.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, you're right. So, and look, and people don't. I mean, I think, and my thing with social media is gone are the days of having well thought out discussion. People are just. I'm not saying everyone's doing this, but there's people. But like I had it in my chat the other day. Someone when I was talking about Starfield, which we'll talk about here shortly. I mentioned something about Starfield, like, oh, open world game, how what did he say? Oh, he said open world game. How next gen or something like that. And I'm like, but see, those are the kind of like hot takes people make, and then people just run with that kind of stuff and like you're like cheerlead and pom pom it. I'm like, why? There's no substance to what that person just said.
Well, it's
Well,
just
it fits a narrative, dude. That's what it is. It fits their narrative, so they're gonna rally for it.
yep, ding ding ding.
Yeah, that's true. All right, what do you guys think of Summer Games Fest and what Microsoft showed? I mean, Capcom. Anything that's kind of stood out that you guys are really excited about?
Diablo 4 for me, honestly. That was the only thing that I saw that was like, holy crap, I can't wait for that fucking game. I mean, are we talking state of play too? Are we putting that in there as
We
well,
could throw
or?
we could throw State of Play in there. Why not? I mean, it took place a week before, so
Because I mean, if we're gonna throw state of play in there, I would say Callisto Protocol. Showing that off was
yes,
fucking
yes.
genius.
I'm actually excited about that.
Um,
A lot of space horror games.
yeah, which I like. I think that's awesome that we're getting more of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I wasn't really excited for too much, man. I wasn't. I mean, a lot of that stuff just didn't have dates to them, and a lot of that stuff was just kind of like, I really would like to know, what's coming the rest of this year, and we still kind of are up in the air with a lot of the stuff that's supposed to come. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem like we're gonna get a game every single week like we used to. You know.
yeah, and I'm kind of in the same place. I mean, I said before the Summer Games Fest that as far as I could tell at that point, right, the fall lineup looked fairly flat, and the landscape wasn't really populated with a lot of like really super desirable titles, from my perspective. Um, I should say from my perspective, in terms of the market, right? Um, I think there's things for people to play, certainly. But when I go back and compare it to years like 2017, 2018, maybe 2016, 2017, I just don't feel like the lineup is as enticing, right, as it was across the entire industry. I don't think Nintendo has anything really monumental, coming out this year. The state of play, I mean, I guess did what it needed to do in terms of, my interpretation is that state of plays are just becoming kind of regular standard quarterly events that Jim Ryan doesn't need to personally oversee. And, there'll be one or two like big tentpole kind of shows each year that are really the big, news headline getters. And so on the assumption that they're going to do a showcase in the August, September timeframe, that show did what it needed to do, but didn't really move the needle for me. And then I think the Xbox showcase did what it needed to do to kind of make sure that people who were already committed to Xbox Game Pass and the Xbox ecosystem, right, kind of had a warm fuzzy about what they had in their roadmap from now and into the fall and into summerish of next year. But again, nothing that really felt monumental for me. I guess my main thing was my disappointment that Forza Motorsport was next spring. It would have been nice for it to have been this fall.
Yeah, and I think for me, Diablo 4, obviously for me, Starfield. Like I'm a Bethesda fanboy. I enjoy Bethesda. Oh, I didn't really care for Fallout 76. No, but all jokes aside, I've always enjoyed Bethesda games. So Starfield was really big for me. But seeing that game and reflecting back on the fact that it's delayed now, I'm kind of like it would have been great to have that game in November of this year. Would have been awesome, considering what we know so far in terms of it kind of being a light, I think Q4 in terms of game releases. I mean, obviously, Call of Duty's going to be there, which I'm actually interested in. Call of Duty. I did like the Modern Warfare 2 trailer they showed up. Okay, I'll pick that up. I'll be there. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot that I think that I was really kind of like doing backflips over. Yes, Capone, I am playing Starfield on PC. That's gonna be the definitive version. Why else? Why would I play somewhere else?
I mean, yeah, that's where you're gonna get the best looking, Bethesda games period anyways because PC has always kind of owned that type of game
Yeah.
because of the mods and everything like that. Um, but to reiterate on what you're talking about, Rap, I think you know the the real issue is that I think a lot of people are thinking it's being that COVID has affected this, and I don't really think that's the case. I think these developers are just kind of like using that as an excuse, but I think they realized that they needed more time to polish these games up, which is fine, understandable, great. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we don't even know when God of Ragnarok's coming out, and like by now we should have known when that's coming out.
November apparently.
It's supposed to be this year.
November, yeah.
Um,
That's
if
the
it's not, is it gonna bother me? Not really. I mean, I could care less. I mean, like I want to play God of War, of course, but it's not something that I'm just gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe. I'm not gonna go at the Sony community or the quote unquote pony community for for that game. Just it is what it is, man. Things get delayed, whatever. Um, but I think like Gaming Logic was saying, Forza Motorsport. I think that would have been a huge thing for them to have this holiday season, and that it's not coming. And that's a big problem, like there's a lot of games that aren't coming to all the consoles. It's not just Xbox. There's things that are coming. I mean, what are we getting from PlayStation? We're getting a freaking remaster of The Last of Us, a remake of The Last of Us. Yeah, granted, it looks great. It does, but was it really necessarily needed? No, absolutely not. Um, so it does feel very kind of like 2022 is going to be I really feel that 2022 is going to be the year that this generation people forget about, because it's just there was nothing really that stood out
yeah.
unless
I think
Ragnarok comes out.
well, I think Forspoken's supposed to release too this year, right?
But that's the thing. All that we've seen of Forspoken has been like kind of like the game looks very empty. So I mean the game looks great, graphically or whatever, but it doesn't really stand out as being one of those games that I would say is a system seller, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean I think 2022 is just, I don't know. I mean, I look. There was some. I think we'll look back at this year, and there was some good releases. I mean, there's you look at the success that Elden Ring had. Horizon Forbidden
Yeah.
West came out. We'll get. There's some other smaller titles that are coming out. One title in particular was oh my God, what's the one with the? It's a sequel. It's the one with the rats. God, what is it called?
Plague
Plague's
Tale.
Tale Requiem.
Thank you, Plague's Tale Requiem. Yeah, which I'm looking forward to. So, all is
Yeah, I
not
mean,
lost
we're
for me
gonna
in 2022. Yeah.
well, that's the thing. Like, we're getting smaller stuff, which I'm enjoying. There's a lot of enjoying. Like, I never would think that to myself, like I would enjoy a lot of these smaller games, but um, since that's really all we got, it's kind of like, okay, I'll go pick up this for like $20 or $30 or whatever, however it costs, because that's usually how much indie games are, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, I think, people who are expecting more AAA games this year aren't really getting it as much, as often as we did in previous years.
Speak for yourself, sir. We got
I'm
we
just
got
saying,
we
man.
got we got AAA bangers on PC.
Well, I mean, that's because PlayStation put them on there.
Oh my God, you're being messy. Um,
I'm just saying, dude. you know how it is. It's true. If that didn't happen, then would we have? Well, I guess you guys have Age of Empires, right?
Yeah, you are angering people in the chat, man. People are calling
I
you a
don't care.
clowner.
I don't
Wow.
give a
Hey,
shit. You think I care?
no, I
No,
know
I
you don't
don't.
care. Yeah, but I'm just like, Jesus, people relax.
Well, of
But no,
course they're gonna be mad because they know they either you can disagree with me. I don't care. Like that's the point of these podcasts is for people to disagree with each other. You know,
yeah,
but I
uh,
I just feel like there wasn't enough AAA stuff this year.
yeah. Um, so speaking of AAA games, I do want to get to it's big shout out to Dreamcast guy. We had him on last week. He did a video today where he talked about the kind of like the hate for um, the hate for the hate for Starfield. Like, and
Mm.
when I think about previous Bethesda reveals and I go back to the Elder Scrolls Morrowind, and then when we saw Oblivion for the first time, and look, there were better games. There were games that looked quote unquote more next gen than Oblivion did, but Oblivion looked good. You could tell it was an improvement from Elder Scrolls Morrowind. Like you could see it. I'm just I'm surprised by some of the things that we're seeing. People criticizing it for being 4K 30 FPS, and I talked about this on Tuesday, where they think that that's not next gen. Where people I think there was an article or a tweet. Someone said, "Oh well." Or was it Kotaku? Someone made an article about it's 1,000 planets might be too much. Was that Kotaku? I don't remember.
I think so.
I think,
I
I
mean,
mean, Kotaku,
it
I mean,
sounds like a
IGN
Kotaku
tweeted
thing.
something about that. Kotaku ran an article. Paul Tassi said something about it. Linneman from Digital Forward said something about it. It was a pretty rampant, you know, perspective given with no substantial basis.
I guess it's it's like I get people saying, okay, you know what, 1,000 planets might be too much. What's interesting is I've seen a couple of people like definitively say it is too much. But we haven't played the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, and like I'm going to pick on Daniel Wynn here. He's like, I bet it's going to be 3 or 4 planets copy pasted 300 times. How do you know that?
Yeah, you don't know until the game comes out. That's the problem, is that these guys prejudge these games before they even fucking come out. Stop doing that.
I don't get it, and I'm just look, we could probably guess that like other Bethesda games, they'll have bugs and stuff like that, and I've seen the conversation about people saying, oh well, how can you consider something game of the year if it has bugs? I'm like, well, again, the bugs, these things exist on a spectrum. So I mean, what kind of bugs are we talking about? Are we talking about game breaking bugs that break the immersive experience, bugs that just kill the game? Like, because if they don't do any of those things, it's possible for a game to have bugs like Bethesda games. I mean, Fallout 4, I played it, I enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite games last generation. It had bugs, but the bugs weren't game breaking for me. It didn't ruin the game for me. It wasn't the game. There was enough in that game that they did right. That kind of that where I wasn't thinking about the bugs in the game. And again, I'm not saying that's okay to have those bugs, but what I'm trying to say is that these things really exist on a spectrum, and it's not okay. There's a bug and that means the game is broken. No, that's not. No. I mean, games can have, subpar graphics, but have great gameplay mechanics and a great, narrative. And you're going to overlook the fact that maybe it doesn't look great. Right. Or, look at Halo Infinite. We talked about Halo Infinite, how, the leveling up system, the multiplayer, the economy, I mean, aren't up to par. And you know, but the gameplay mechanics are great, right? We enjoy playing the game, and you know, and that's kind of where the game shines. And yeah, like Daniel Wynn said, Days Gone. Days Gone was another one, had bugs, but the bugs in that game weren't like, it didn't break the game for me. It didn't break the immersion for me. So I just find it very interesting that Starfield, it's being questioned whether or not it's really a next gen game because it's 4K, 30 FPS. I mean, you look at Horizon Forbidden West, it had 2 modes, but I know people that were playing on the graphic resolution mode at 4K, 30 FPS, right? So, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't remember. I just don't remember a Bethesda game being like talked about it like this. And I don't know if maybe it's because of Fallout 76 and the trouble that game had. But if you've played a Bethesda game, if you played Skyrim, if you played Morrowind, if you played, you know, any of the Elder Scrolls games, if you played Fallout, like what I saw from Starfield is what I expected from a Bethesda game.
I think the reason why this is happening, dude, and and there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, no, that's not because of that, is because they're owned by Xbox now. I really believe that that's what it is. It's because they're owned by Xbox, so everybody's just fucking nitpicking it to all hell because it's an Xbox title. And it looks like it looks like a Bethesda game. When I saw it, I was like, oh, it looks like their normal Bethesda game. It didn't look anything that I was all like, you know, that I was like, you know, that that made me question that it's not a Bethesda game. I mean, it did look like, you know, it did have some things that looked like No Man's Sky-ish. Yeah, okay. But, you know, I think for the most part it looked, you know, gunplay wise, it looked like Fallout. You know, I think it's more Fallout in space than what they said. It was more like Skyrim in space, but I think it's more like Fallout in space. Um, so I mean, you know, and I think the game looks good, man. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm super excited for it, but you know, I want to play it
Yeah.
when it comes out.
Well, and I'm going to pick on Kratopsy here in the live chat because he's like, you know, he's saying, oh my God, what did he say here? Oh, I lost it. He was saying something like, it's okay to be critical. Yeah, I mean, it's fine to be critical. The problem is when you're being critical and you're making definitive comments or statements about a game that you haven't even played.
Or I mean, I'll extend that further, right? It's about trying to make it as it's trying to make your statements of criticism as if they are facts and not fully describing them or fleshing them out or making them actionable feedback. I was talking to BRAP about this before the show started. And this is what I keep trying to convey to people about what a software developer's perspective is. If I have a difficult customer who comes to me and says, you know, I don't feel like this UI is responsive enough, right? I say, what does that mean, right? What am I supposed to do about that? Because I'm not going to spend hundreds of labor hours guessing at your bring me another rock feedback until we can sit down and you can specify what it is, right? Or otherwise, right, if I have a really difficult customer and I kind of get into that dialogue with them and I keep getting the runaround and a bunch of like in specific bring me another rock kind of feedback, then finally what I do is I probably figure out a way to describe what's going on in a way that they think they understand, but all I've really tried to do is not necessarily be technically accurate, but just try to get them to come to a point where they're okay, right? Which means I kind of businessize it, right? Instead of taking any actual technical action, because I can't take any technical action, right? If I make the UI response time 0.1 second faster, does that meet the requirement? If I make it 0.05 seconds, like, I don't know what to do with that. So I go back to this thing, and some of you guys saw the dialogue between, or heard the dialogue between B Money and I, right? B came into the podcast and he said, that game doesn't look next gen to me, right? And I said, what does that mean, right? And we pulled that apart, right? And finally we got down to a description, right? When I look at the texture maps applied to the facial animations right into the characters while they're in those dialogue, like cutscene, kind of cut in engine cutscenes, right? It doesn't look like it has the same level of detail or an equitable amount of detail from an aesthetically pleasing perspective as other games that I've played on other platforms in the same kind of technology generation, right? Okay, that's something that can be addressed. Now, my pushback on that is I would say, well, now we have to get into a discussion of design trade-offs, right? And I was talking on Twitter to people about this today. I was like, you guys are citing things that the game like doesn't have or you feel are like beneath some mythical standard that you can't articulate. And I'm like, from a developer standpoint, is like, okay, so am I supposed to fix those? What if the reason that doesn't look the way it does is because I took those 50 labor hours or 100 labor hours and put them on something else, right? Am I supposed to now, right, knock that thing off the table, right? Take away the pro that I gained for the con that you're citing? Software development is a holistic 360-degree process where there's a bucket of finite labor hours and time to do a thing, and design trade-offs are determined, right? Creative and architectural intent is decided. And so at the end of the day, there comes up a relatively quantifiable output, right? And in order to fit something else in the sock, right, you kind of have to take something out, or you have to put in more time, right? It's the program management triangle, right? It's scope, schedule, and cost, right? And I can't move one of those legs of the triangle without moving one of the others. So my big thing that I've been on about today is like when you have a critique, flesh it out and make it something that the developer can actually do something about, right? That doesn't look next gen. What the hell is that, right? It doesn't look like Horizon Forbidden West. It doesn't look like Death Stranding, right? It doesn't look like whatever. Most of this commentary, when I pull the thread on it, comes across as it's just an SIE blueprint game, right? And again, I would say, well, maybe the creative intent was never to make it look like that, right? Or never to make it like that. Those things fit inside a shoebox that is probably smaller in terms of overall effort than Starfield, right? So people have to figure those things out if they want to provide actually, to me, valid, credible, right, feedback that the developer should actually do something about. Otherwise, what a software developer does is they just say, I'm not going to pay attention to that because it doesn't mean anything, right? And I'm going to base, what we're building on the market analysis, right, that we've done that got us to this point in the first place. So it's just a lot of people flapping their gums in the wind, giving what, in my opinion, is useless dialogue that doesn't move the needle for anyone. It is nothing but a distraction in the gaming community space. And it's not, well, it's fine for us to be critical. Well, to be critical and to have that criticism not add any value to the discussion, I'm sorry, you're going to get pushback about that, right? Just like you're giving pushback to the developer about what they're creating and putting out in the space.
Well, and from if you think about what Bethesda has done with some of these bigger games, Skyrim and Fallout, like this, like if you like those games, you are going to like Starfield. And Kartopsy's saying, their mods, like Todd Howard's been on record saying the mods make it better, make their games better. I'm like, yeah, they make them better because they actually, and yeah, they on the PC side they do fix some bugs and stuff like that. But to make it better, Kartopsy, and you probably don't know this because you're not in the PC crowd or in that Bethesda space. Like, there's a lot of content and other things they do to make those games. Actually, there's a lot of content, and that's kind of what Todd Howard's really referring to, the amount of content that the PC mod community brings onto these games.
It's the amount of choice that it provides. I go on and on and on and talk about player provenance, right? About taking a foundational work and using it to create your own experience. And that's part of what mods do. It's called extensibility, right? It allows that work to kind of skew off in a creative vector that is unique in a certain degree from what the creator originally intended, and that's a nice to have that they're providing to people, an option that they're providing to people, that they're providing to the content creator community, right, to extend the life and extend the value of that product. That is not something that they have to do, right? So I mean, the notion that it, I don't know, that I guess that's a comment that's trying to insinuate that it takes mods to make the thing really good. Again, I think that's a matter of perspective. The Bethesda games that I've played, I've never used mods. I don't use mods in general just because I don't have time to like replay a game right with a mod extension. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say that. I've never had an experience where I needed a mod to enjoy a Bethesda game. I didn't have to do it with. And you want to talk about like jank and issues? You go back and try Morrowind on the original Xbox. Like the fact that game ran was like, wow. I mean, that game was there. Nothing had ever been done on consoles at that that level of scope. And I think that's the other thing too, level of scope too. Like no one's talking about that, and it goes back when I hear people say, "Oh, it's only 30 FPS." Well, okay, but what are they making here though? 1,000 planets, these worlds that are alive. The fact that the NPCs, you mentioned this Game Logic, the NPCs, they continue with their day-to-day lives pretty much without you even interacting with them, right? Behind the scenes, that's happening.
Right. So, I think another thing that's important to elicit, right, at this, or to put out there at this point in the conversation too, is a lot of people, right, in this Twitter conversation this is kind of by proof positive that people have relatively malicious intent, right, in levying some of this criticism, right? People go, "Oh, you're defending Starfield. Oh, you're jumping in," and I'm like, no. Like, at no point, go through my tweet, right? Go through the thread. Go through everything that I've said over the last few days. At no point have I said, I think Starfield is going to be good, right? What I said is, I think Starfield is going to be fine from a commerciality perspective, and it's going to do what Microsoft needs it to do from a financial target perspective, right? Because at the end of the day, Microsoft, right, even if it doesn't, is poised to absorb, right, it not performing well. But I think it's going to perform fine, and I think it's going to get the consumption kind of, I'll call them consumption credits that it needs to on Game Pass, right? My point is that it's not a matter of defending that the game's going to be good. It's a matter that the dialogue around the game is of such low value, right? And it's that the criticism being lobbed at the game is of the most base, craven, lack of like intellectuality and academic discipline, right? And people go, "Oh, well, that's fine." I'm like, okay, if you think that that's fine, right, to lob, bathroom level criticism at it, then don't be mad at me if I say your criticism doesn't add a lot of value, right? This isn't a sports bar, right? At least from my perspective in the conversations that I'm trying to be in, right? Like, if there's a criticism about the game, and the thing is, I'm hoping that when and you could think of it as a challenge. I'm hoping when I ask these questions and when I poke and prod at something, my intention isn't to shame people into silence. My hope is that you arrive, right, at that articulation and that definition behind your words, or come to an understanding that you don't really have any objective, quantitative, or qualitative basis, right, that you could actually put behind the argument, and that you go off and think about it, right, and come back and reformulate it, right? It's not my intention to have fewer people talking about it. It's to hope to raise the level of quality of the discussion that there is around it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the part that's been missing. And again, I don't have an issue with people saying, "Hey, you know what? From what I saw, I don't know, this game doesn't really resonate with me. I'm not really a big, I don't play Bethesda games. I'm not into these open world games." You could really tell people that haven't played Bethesda games before, and by some of the commentary they're making about Starfield. And to Optimus's point, I also agree. I don't think we'd be having this conversation, because I remember when Fallout came out, and more of the criticism about Fallout 4 was with the the diehard Bethesda core like fan base,
Mhm.
especially when they found out that the protagonist was going to have voice dialogue, and that was another thing. People were like, "Oh my God, Starfield, the protagonist can't speak." That's not new. Like most Bethesda games, the protagonist doesn't speak.
Well, there's a reason for that because there's more dialogue choices without the spoken character.
Absolutely, it's exactly what it is.
So it makes the game more fun.
And that's the point. Like when you know, and if you watched the show, the Xbox Extended Showcase, which I streamed again, and I thought that was kind of, it was what I expected. Microsoft saying, hey, this is kind of a deep dive into you know, the games that we showed on Sunday, and you know, and so like Pete Hines talked about this game, and he's like, yeah, like this is, if you listen to him and if you've played Bethesda games, this is exactly a Bethesda game. This is open world. You have so many different choices, paths, different ways you can experience the game. No two people are going to experience the game the same way. He talked about the cooler talk, and I remember having cooler talk when I go back to 20-something plus years ago with when Morrowind came out, and I remember, and I still have that fucking strategy guide, by the way. That thing's like that's the first strategy guide, by the way. When you used to buy strategy guides, they were like really thin. That one was like a fucking, like really like a book.
Dude, that thing was thicker than the Bible.
Right? It was. You know what's funny? Like all jokes aside, and I'll tweet a picture of it. I have it. I still have that thing. That thing was super thick. Yeah, I have it. I found it in my storage. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. You hit someone with that book, they're going down for the count, man. That thing's causing damage.
It's like a phone book.
You know what? It was like exactly like, it was like the white pages. I mean, or the yellow pages or whatever it's called. That's exactly what it was.
Sure, man.
So, but we got the super chat from Borbor Country. I love his name. $2 super chat says, I'm in 30s. Bethesda has yet to entertain, impress me. Thank you for that super chat, Bobor. We do have somebody here with us. This man is if you play FPS games, you need to play with him. He is a very talented individual. Slow-mo backslaps in the house. What's up, Slow-mo? I don't know if he's there yet, but Slow-mo's here.
I also heard he steals your kills, too.
No, he doesn't do that.
There we go. Mike, there it is. I had the mic switched to the wrong microphone. I don't steal kills.
No, Slow-mo, we know you don't do that, man. He just
steals
kills
out here.
He probably steals kills.
No,
you know I do.
Dark does.
I played you in Battlefield. You know I steal kills.
Oh
man.
Yeah, you were fucking stealing my kills. I do remember that. Actually, he's not even exaggerating. He kept stealing my kills.
Now you see why I don't play multiplayer. There you go. Now I can stop being bugged by people.
The dark is the guy hiding in the corner, just waiting for to find somebody low on health. There you go,
exactly. Guys. Slow-mo, get him! And he's like, Slow-mo, get him! And he comes around and finishes him off.
So one thing I want to call out is, and I really like this in the chat. So Febreze, I think is what it is. Gosh damn it!
I like Febreze. Febreze smells good.
Yeah. So Febreze says Starfield's combat needs a hook. Shouting and magic was Skyrim's. Focus was Fallout's. Pure shootout would be a step down, in my opinion. Thank you. That is the point I've been trying to get to. Versus what I got on Twitter today was the combat looked boring. And I went back to the person, I'm like, what does that mean? Tell me a game that's in the similar genre of similar content, similar setting that has combat that is more quote unquote exciting to you. Okay, define and describe that and why it's different. So Febreze just did exactly what I'm getting on about. Like, I get it. Everybody loves to do these lazy hand waves and these 10-word tweets, right? And acts like they're spiking the football and they've won some argument. And my whole problem is it's like, so you guys are saying that the devs who are spending thousands of labor hours in software engineering over the course of a 5-year development cycle, you're calling lazy, but then you can't be bothered to make a cogent, intelligent argument on Twitter, right? So again, don't be shocked and amazed when I come back and tell you that your own dialogue is flippin' lazy and worthless and isn't worth being entered into evidence.
Oh my gosh, Logic, you're so savage today. What happened? Where did I
Yeah,
walk
yeah, your
into?
level of savagery is like on a another level today. Yeah, well,
Very angry.
I mean, I don't blame them though, man. Because I mean, you get sick of this shit where people are just fucking, they just continue to complain and complain and complain without any real fucking context to what they're complaining
it's like your
about.
mom.
Oh man.
Well,
Oh.
you know, you should make her more happy, dude. What can I
I
tell you, man?
try. I
You know?
try.
Hey, you're not trying hard enough. All right.
I mean, there's only so much a man can
You-
do.
no, you're laying there like a dead fish, and we all know that. Okay.
Oh
my
my god. Okay, let's get back on topic before you
But-
know.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead,
like,
man. Go-
people
yeah.
aren't.
Before Dark's mom shows up.
Right? Dark?
People
Honey?
they're just so like they want to be negative all the time, and it's just it's a constant negativity throughout Twitter, throughout YouTube, everywhere. People just are so fucking negative about every little thing. But then when the game comes out, there are people who are absolutely ecstatic. Like, I mean, Slow-Mo, I see some of his tweets where he talks about a certain game and it's just like he's ecstatic and he's playing it and he's loving it. And, you see screenshots, you see, gameplay, things like that. So, I mean, there are those people that do that, but then there's so many people that are just so negative about every little thing, every little detail. I mean, yeah, granted, we are in 2022. We should be seeing a lot more detail to some of these games, but this game isn't even out yet, and people are analyzing it and saying, "Oh, it's not up to par." This game hasn't even come out yet to even give that judgment. When it comes out, absolutely you can give that. If you see something that you don't like, say why you don't like it, and explain yourself. Don't freaking just say, "Oh, well, I don't like it just because of this."
And
Well,
You
I
need to
think
explain.
I think the example that guy gave about the combat was spot on. And that's one of the things I was thinking about too. Like, is it going to have, like, if it's just like I'm curious to see, like, if there's other abilities maybe that your characters have, or maybe how joining a particular faction might impact maybe the kind of weapon loadout you get, or or skill tree or techniques, whatever you have, because that was kind of the thing with Skyrim. Like, you could either approach it as a mage, right? You could do that. You can just shoot off your magic and have at it, or you could do the clubbing motion. You know what I'm talking about, Slow-Mo, right? The clubbing motion that Bethesda's notorious for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love it, right?
you could do that,
I
or like,
I hate it.
no, I know you hate it, yeah, but
Sadly.
it's one of my criticisms of Bethesda games, like that just hacking motion that they have. But there's also but then I was wondering, like, are they going to have something similar? Like, what is it? Is it Fallout? Is it the VAT system where it slows down and then you can like the VATs where you can like you could target like certain body parts, right?
It didn't seem like that's what they were going to have in this one. It seemed
But,
like they were
see,
going more for a first-person action space opera type
Space,
of game.
the final frontier. Yeah, but I like, if it had like a VAT system, man, that would be cool to me. That would be cool. Where
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Go
it'll
ahead.
be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the game comes out. I mean, I have never particularly felt that that minus that VAT system, that combat in a Bethesda game, particularly ranged combat, right, with modern weapons, has necessarily been anything to like be held up against any game that really focuses on that as a core competency. And I know Slow-Mo, I think didn't feel like the combat looked great in and I can acknowledge that. I guess my feeling is I'm surprised that they're moving in that design vector at all. And so I'm curious to see how it turns out, right? If they do really have an engaging combat model, that particularly again with range modern weapons, that would be something that I feel like we haven't seen before in a Bethesda game, and might turn out really interesting.
I do kind of wonder if and I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I didn't think the gunplay was great, but I do wonder with the skill trees if it's kind of like Cyberpunk where it's I think this is kind of a mistake to go this route, but I do wonder if like I saw the skill trees and I saw like they had like sniper like specialization or something like that, and they I saw like certain specializations for certain weapons. I wonder if like the gunplay gets better. Like you can kind of like almost
As
kind of
you
like
go
with
along.
Borderlands with the badass rank, where as you rank up your rank, you get faster reload speed, faster aim down sight speed. Certain things like that where the gunplay improves as your character gets up in higher levels because it's an RPG. So I
So
do
kind of like
wonder.
Kingdom Come, Deliverance. The more you
Yeah,
play, the more you get better at the gameplay.
right. Which like I think that has never been a very easy transition between games that have a lot of role playing elements or just role playing games in general and first person shooting, because the problem is that people who are used to first person shooters want a consistent or at least a low ceiling when it comes to the gunplay versus like in regular RPGs, like back in the day, turn-based RPGs or isometric RPGs, when you're level 1, you trash, man. You suck.
I
Like you said, you're
love how you
you're
say that. You're
awful.
trash.
Yeah, you are, and like you gotta build
Yeah.
yourself up because you can barely beat anybody. You're barely fighting foot soldiers and security guards and stuff like that. And then like as the game gets on, you start to get more weapons. You find loot. You level your character up to get stronger, and then now you're taking on huge like in-game bosses and
Huge.
right. So it's I wonder because I like that's the issue with Cyberpunk where a lot of people was like with Cyberpunk, this gunplay sucks. And it is like that for like until you level up for a while and then you can get proficient with pistols or sniper rifles, whatever. It's just I wonder if that's the case, and I wonder if maybe they probably should have did kind of something that similar to how we saw with Tales of Arise, where they kind of showed you what combat looks like 30 levels in with all your skills unlocked and everyone else's skills unlocked, and you guys are just like tag teaming enemies, just batting them around the arena.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been smarter of a play to show instead of just I mean I don't know what level your character was when you go in there and try to clear out these bandits out of this derelict base or whatever, but it just didn't look that great. So it's unfortunate, but I mean, I don't think that the core Bethesda fans care that much because I mean, clearly I've been dealing with trash gunplay with Fallout for forever. So I mean,
Hey, easy there, buddy.
Hey, I'm just saying.
The VAT system is I love it. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You hone into those pieces, those body parts. Pow, pow.
One thing I want to address is and then I think I'll promise to close the chat out, right, and not be so hyper focused on it. So Jeff B Gaming, who quite honestly, Jeff, I find your dialogue in chat not of great use during the show, but it's because
Game Logic is all fire tonight.
I love it, man. I love it. Great.
I mean, so he says
slow-mo with that evil laugh, by the way.
He says it's because someone sullied the name of their beloved Bethesda. If it was a criticism about PlayStation, Game Logic and Dark Autonomous wouldn't bat an eye. So I feel like I need to like walk in here with like a resume of like my takes on every element of Microsoft and Sony, like every single show, and staple them to the Sistine Chapel, right, for people to read before they lob a criticism. Like, and you've been here every show, so you've definitely heard me go through these things, right? I've been approving of Sony's PlayStation Plus approach, right? and pushback on the criticism about their need to make that thing day and date. I've been approving of things like Death Stranding, and that's most probably centric and relevant to this conversation. Because just like Death Stranding, I felt people lobbed criticisms at that game, not having played it, not fully understanding its content, talking out of their butts, right? And not having valid articulated criticisms against that game. I've sat here in recent weeks and lobbed tons of criticism at Microsoft about their ability to use their production pipeline to fulfill their own statements about their own strategy and give the things to Game Pass subscribers that many of them expect. So I guess I'd say you can pound sand with that, perspective that, if it was PlayStation, then we would have a different perspective. I can't necessarily speak for Dart, but I'll speak for myself.
No,
Vendors,
I'll speak after you, but yeah, go on.
Vendors get criticism for me based on whatever actions that they take. It doesn't have to do with any brand, like or dislike. It's just if they come up with something that I question and I'm critical about, then they're going to get criticism about it. Period.
Yeah, if for me personally, like people have come at fucking Insomniac for their games, and and people have said, oh, uh Insomniac games suck, and I said name
What?
one. I've asked people, like, name one fucking
Who
game
ha-
that they've made.
would say such idiocy? Like I don't even
Xbox
understand.
University said that, dude. In a
Oh, okay.
speech.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I mean that says it all. But we're not going to mention
That
his
says it
name.
all. No, I know. I'm sorry for mentioning his name, but I'm just saying you wanted to know who it was, so I told you. And people have
Slim,
other
are you
people besides
surprised?
him.
I
mean,
mean,
no,
not
I'm not
really, but
surprised.
come
I'm
on.
not surprised, but like, that's the thing. I've come at people for saying things that like Ghost of Tsushima. Like somebody said something about it being you know this Jap crap or whatever, and I'm just like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? You don't even know like what the hell you're talking about because it
First of
it,
all, that's
it
offensive. But
it's
for someone to even say that, yeah.
first of all, it's offensive to say that. Plus, it's also um you know it's made by a developer that's not even you know even remotely close to Japan. So like like they decided to make a game about Japanese characters and things like that and there was and the game's fantastic, like the game
You
is
talking about
is
Ghost of Tsushima and Sucker Punch?
yeah, Sucker Punch, yeah.
So
Yeah,
someone
Ghost.
thinks that game's bad? Wow! Look,
Yeah, but
I,
I've heard people say that, and I'm just like,
a lot of
you
the
have
people that say this stuff have never played the game. Like
exactly,
the whole
exactly,
criticism, I've seen this multiple times. All of Sony's games are third-person perspective action adventure games. That's a very, very simplistic look at these games. And if you play these games, you would know that none of them play the same. Like Ghost of
They really
Tsushima,
don't. They don't.
they
like
really
Ghost of
don't. Yeah,
Tsushima does not play like Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West doesn't play like Uncharted. Even there are even very like startling differences between The Last of Us combat and Uncharted's combat, although they are like based in the same foundation and game design from the same studio. But like each studio has their own like niche. Just because it's a camera view doesn't mean it's the same gameplay. But that also tells you like why you shouldn't listen to everyone's opinion. Because
right,
clearly, if all you looking at is a camera view and saying that's how these games are all the same, that tells me one, you never played these games. Two, you only know the camera view because that's all you've seen in screenshots. Because again, you back to one, you've never played these games. And three, I don't respect your opinion because you don't understand what quality is. Because you've been playing a certain kind of game from a certain kind of platform because of whatever console war and stupidity that you have going on in your
right,
brain. And you have not actually experienced games from other platforms that you may actually like, but you refuse to do so because of whatever stupid reason of brand plastic that you're banner waving for. So it's nonsense. Like so
Slim,
those people.
We don't have this
You
issue on
should
the
even
PC
deal with
platform,
that.
man.
We sure don't, because we get all the
I,
games. So,
I
so there's no reason
absolutely,
for us to do
honestly,
that.
I absolutely agree with you guys. I think I see less and less PC guys. They don't. I rarely ever see a PC dude, except for I mean, there are those ones that make the jokes and stuff like that. We know who they are. We're not gonna say who they are. They're we know who they are. They make jokes and stuff like that, but they're just joking. Like,
Yeah.
they're not really serious. They know that these games are, they like what they like and things like that. And I rarely ever see PC guys going at freaking, I mean, slow mo, like, I've seen things from you that you post things from PlayStation, you post things from different I think you even posted one time from the Switch or whatever. I can't
It was a
remember
long
what game
time
it was.
ago.
A
It was a
long
long
time
time.
ago, yeah. It
Yeah,
was a long time ago, but
that was before I started using it as a frisbee.
Oh boy.
Um,
Okay.
I've been trying to post stuff from my Steam Deck, but
yeah.
you know what? I need to actually work on like figuring out like the best way to do that. I think you can do it from Steam OS, like the Steam app, but I don't know. I haven't played around with it enough to do that. I went on vacation last week and I had my Steam Deck with me, which allowed me to play games on Xbox through XCloud.
Man, my wife would
I
kill me,
did.
man. You were on vacation? My wife would have killed me.
Well, look, I made sure to do it at moments where everyone, like the kids, were like watching a movie or they're asleep, or the wife is completely exhausted because it's been a long day. I got my Steam Deck. I got a USB-C to HDMI converter,
Woo!
and I connected it to one of the TVs in the Airbnb that we were at, and I just got some gaming and mostly played Persona 4 Golden, Disco Elysium, off of Steam. But I did
I
get
need to
in.
play Disco Elysium. I've been sleeping on that for a long time, man.
It's
That game is freaking awesome, dude.
it's a great game, great story, absolutely like crazy, like dialogue, like the writing in it is fantastic. Like I think I know, I mean, not to go completely off topic, but Obsidian trying to do their take on it with Pentiment. I think I laughed when I saw it, like during the stream last Sunday, because it's like
I
I
did too.
knew what the reaction was going to be was what the fuck is this ugly shit, right? But like I was kind of hoping maybe they would have went with a similar art style to Disco Elysium, because Disco Elysium also looks very basic, but it has like this kind of like watercolor painting kind of look to it that has its own aesthetic that people can kind of just be like, all right, it's cool that it doesn't look like, for the realistic visuals or some shit like that. But the basic look of Pentiment is probably going to turn a lot of people off from it, and it might actually just be just as good in writing and story and role playing as Disco Elysium. But like that aside, I had a great time just playing games, man. And I got on XCloud. I did some Fortnite through XCloud. I got on on PlayStation Remote Play through my Switch. My Steam Deck, and I played some Elden Ring with some friends. So
What? Slow-mo.
yeah,
That dude, I mean, that's pretty impressive, man. Like, okay.
Hey,
yeah,
Slow,
it's a lot of fun, man.
hey,
Go
Slow, let me ask you because it's hyper relevant, right? So in Elden Ring, if you are summoned right into another person's game,
Mhm.
right, and say the two of you, say that person was further in the game than you are, right,
Mhm.
and you,
Oh, that wouldn't be possible because
well,
because you have to have, in order to be summoned. Oh, well, it could be possible if they decide to go to an earlier part, because you both have to have the same grace unlocked in order
okay.
to summon someone in. But yeah, but go ahead. It's possible, just as long as you're not like at the area. That person isn't at the area that you haven't accessed yet. If that
Okay.
makes sense. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's starting to. I think so. This may be an exception to my perspective. It will be very interesting to find out. So if you go into that person's game and
Mhm.
you in co-op with them take down a boss that you haven't defeated in your save,
Mhm.
and you go back to your save, is that boss already defeated?
No, because you actually the way they have it set up in lore is that you're actually invading or being summoned to someone else's world or their world state. So it's they kind of got it, they don't really explain it in depth, but it's a part of the story. Invasions are a part of the story. There's actually like factions that are all about like invading other tarnished people to kill them. So it's whatever you killed in that world, your boss in your world is still alive and kicking if you haven't taken them out yet.
Okay, so you mean, and Elden Ring is a slightly strange duck, right? In comparison to other games on the gaming landscape, but essentially, it still boils down to the base that if if you instance into someone else's campaign in co-op and make progress, and then you come back to your own save, right? That progress is not reflected in your world, right? Other than
Correct.
like XP and any items, I guess, that you would
Well,
have picked up in the world.
runes you got from you. Like if you kill a boss, you probably would get the runes off of it, and you can keep that with you when you go back. Yeah.
Okay, so help me understand, and I believe it's the same way in, say, Borderlands or Halo.
Well,
So
Halo is I can't remember with Halo
so
because I haven't co-op Halo in a while, but with Borderlands is different. And Borderlands co-op progress is persistent for everyone that's in the game.
so let me put it this way: if in Borderlands I have gone a third of the way through the campaign, right?
Mhm.
And then I jump in to another person who is 2/3 of the way through the campaign, right? And I whatever participate in some chapter of content there, and I
Mhm.
go back to my own instance of the campaign. Is that content completed in my campaign?
It is, but you still need to continue your story. So, for example, let's say you're in Borderlands and you complete a third of the game, and then you skipped a third of the game and did like a section of the last third of the game. When you go back to your game, you still will be essentially your like main missions are still what you left them at and that first third. What will happen is that once you go back and then you do the content that you haven't done yet, when you reach the point where you've already done the other stuff in co-op, you get a message that pop up on the screen. You've already done this. You can continue and do it again, or you can skip ahead to what you haven't done yet.
Okay, so you kind of get credit basically for doing it,
Right.
but its existence in the stateful terms of that world is that it still exists.
Yes, and I do
Okay.
believe actually I kind of think if you I think the same is in Halo, but it's a little different. But it's been kind of like it hasn't been persistent throughout every Halo game. But for
Right. I mean,
Borderlands, that's been persistent for every Borderlands game.
yeah, my memory of Halo, and I played almost all those games co-op, is that I'm old, could be remembering wrong, but I'm pretty certain if I jumped into co-op in somebody else's game and did like a chapter or a level, when I went back to my campaign, I would still have to play that again, right? If I were behind in the campaign when I got up there.
Yeah, I mean that may be the case. Like whenever I've done like co-op, like for example, like co-op on Legendary, it's like I'm playing with a friend, and we're literally like that's the only part of Halo we're playing at that time. So it's like if we stopped at a certain chapter or a certain part of the campaign, next time we're coming in, it's like I didn't never had the really opportunity to see if like that didn't work because it's like we were both playing it, and I still got like the achievements and everything, whether I was the host or not. So I just assumed like it was the same as it is with Borderlands, even though Borderlands came out afterwards. But I see what your point. Are you about to get towards Redfall?
Redfall.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that
My
segue.
My problem is like why do people have different expectations for Redfall? Why is the criticism so vitriolic about it, as if it's like some like design approach with zero precedent on the gaming landscape, right? It's just ridiculous. And then on top of that, when these people who are like, oh, what year is it? Like, is this 2022? I'm like, okay, so if this is a new design approach,
That's me. That's me. I've been saying that. But
is Redfall supposed to be the first one, right? That does it, right? Or the second or the third, maybe, right? I don't understand what this levying of that requirement on that game from a design perspective is, with such vehemence. I can understand saying, well, I really would have preferred it to be this way, but I don't get, again, just like we talk about the Starfield stuff, what I don't get is this. It's not just I don't like it or I don't want it. It's wrong and the team is stupid.
Well, I wouldn't say like it's wrong and the team is stupid. That's definitely hyperbole. But what I will say is that it has been, I would say, a very like maybe old school approach to not have that progress be consistent, persistent for the people who are co-oping with the host and not. I've been on the timeline saying for a fact that a whole decade ago, Gearbox introduced with Borderlands 2, I think, or maybe Borderlands 1. Actually, it may have been Borderlands 1. Um, I'll go with 2 because I know for certain it's like that in 2. Then back in 2012, Borderlands 2, that was persistent for everyone. And exactly how we had already discussed it is what it was. That and taking into account what the developer with Arcane said their reasoning for not doing it, I don't agree with whatsoever because someone who has played with this multiple games with this kind of format when it came to co-oping and your progress in the campaign, never felt confused with the story whatsoever. Like their rationale was they think people would get confused if you were given progress towards playing the game with other people and not all and also have that progress go towards you yourself. I never felt confused whenever I played those games. And I felt fully engaged with the story. And I will hope to God that Redfall story is as good as Borderlands 2 story. Because that was a great story and a great campaign. So it's just I kind of feel at this point it's annoying to have to keep going back and forth. A great example of this is that I've been playing Remnant from the Ashes with the Ashen Luca this year. Great game. Love the game. Like it's like Dark Souls with guns. It's freaking awesome. And if you haven't played it, everyone listening right now, play that game. It's great. That said, it's a game that really wants you to play in co-op. But then when you play in co-op, only the host gets progress. So what me and Luca have been doing is that one day we'll play on her side, on her campaign, and then wherever we left off at, the very next time we play, we're on my campaign trying to get to the same point. And it's like it's repeating the same content over again for no other reason but the developer didn't want to allow that progress that you earned for everyone that was present during the actual earning. Like it's almost as if, like, if you did that in Destiny or the Division looter shooters, like people would check out immediately if they didn't get only the host got progress. Like it's just not. It's not. It takes away from the fun. Even though Remnant's still a great game, that's a huge detractor for it.
Didn't
And
Far Cry 5 do that?
Well, and I was an S doesn't.
I'm pretty sure they
I've,
did that,
and I'm
where they didn't allow
I beat Far Cry
progress.
5 completely solo, so I never played with any co-op with other
Yeah, I
people.
think co-op wise, they took that out where one like you wouldn't get certain trophies or something like that or achievements, something like that.
So in the
That was
Division
true.
2, I'm pretty sure it was like in the Division 2, if and I played co-op with C. Smith Shine from the Game Junkie show. Like when I would go into her instance of the campaign, right, and say take down like an encampment or an area, right, in her world. When I went back to my world, if I hadn't done the same thing, that encampment would be back there. So I mean, I understand and I definitely accept. First of all, Slomo, you know that I highly respect your opinion and perspective on games.
Of course.
And so I get wanting to
Oh,
have.
I hold on about Division 2. Not everything. Now with Division 1, anything you did in someone else's world, everything was consistent. But like I think in Division 2, what they did, if it was like the missions, if you guys did the missions together, then you didn't have to do those again. But like they have these camps where it's like, let's say you'll have a zone and there are checkpoints. I forgot what they call them in Division 2, but there's like these
Yeah, control
checkpoints,
points or whatever.
control points, right? That
Yeah.
you have to take down. Those control points were only in your world. So, like, if you completely wiped and cleared all the enemies out of a particular zone in DC in Division 2, you went back to your world. Those control points were still there. But the main campaign, though, if you did did the main story of the campaign, or you all got together and did that, charge the capital and took the capital, which ended the campaign, like, you still got credit for that. Like, all that was still done. So, like, you see the difference there. It's like you got credit for this, we didn't get credit for that. But yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, I guess my feeling about like the community wide perspective is to me the approach, and again this is where I go back to Starfield, right? The design approaches, it's not as if there's not a precedent, it's not as if they're still prevalent in game design.
Right.
And so it's weird to me the take that, oh well, that's wrong, right? Just like Starfield, this discussion of seamless transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long the load screen's going to be. I don't know if it's going to break the immersion. I don't know if it's going to be super disruptive. Yes, I get it. Look, I'm the guy who's got 4 different flight control systems and HODES systems, right? I reloaded Star Citizen this week, right, just so I could play around with the flight model and remember and recall that and remember it in the course of this discussion with Starfield. But I can't look at what Starfield is from a game design perspective and say that design choice is wrong, right? It's a design choice they made. It's not super appealing to me, but I can't like cast vast aspersions on it, right? Going back to the comments that were made earlier, right? Like again, this is my problem with Starfield, and the thing with Redfall too. It's just how we come at the conversations. Like I'm not a big Bethesda fan. I didn't play Skyrim until years after it was released. I didn't play Fallout 4 till years after it was released. In past episodes of my own podcast, I've cast aspersions on Bethesda because I felt like, in particular, in their deployments on the PlayStation platform, there have been game-breaking bugs, right, in their games. And quite honestly, I've never understood the Bethesda kind of rabid fandom that will not accept any criticism against their games whatsoever. I feel like Fallout 76 was kind of a comeuppance, right, of that. I was like, I think I've been telling you guys that for years. But by the same token, I also can't understand entirely the Square Enix fandom. But my point is that it doesn't have to do with the vendor, the platform, the developer, the brand. It has to do with the fact that the criticisms that we're lodging and the baselessness of them, the lack of a foundation of a premise behind them it's really the kind of conversation that I would have with a 10-year-old, right? And so I feel like for people who supposedly love games and some people who are supposedly well versed in games, we ought to do better than that, right? In the dialogue that we create.
I got you. And when it comes to Starfield, like I mean, like I'm only like mildly interested in the game. I'm gonna check it. I went from basically after seeing it, went from I'm not really care about this game, I'm gonna pass to I'll give it a shot. But I definitely do not want to land my own ship. Definitely give me that Destiny like cutscene load screen of my ship just like going into the planet because I don't want
because you don't want to crash, right?
what do I look like? I'm trying to land my ship and I crash. Like I mean, like how
Especially
much?
after hours of fucking trying to get it exactly right how you want it and stuff.
Yeah, and then I crash it like trying to land on some
Yeah.
helipad. I'm good.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and do the cutscene for me. Thank you. Like
Right.
I don't care about that, but like when it comes to, I think it's more of a preference thing when it comes to the whole co-op like your progress counting for everyone. I think that's more of a preference thing, and if when we see there are games that have done it and they've done it well, I think that there's becomes a point in time when people are tired of seeing it not being done for other games, where it's just like, or well, at least in my case, when it comes to Arcane Austin, I respect their opinion. I just disagree about it confusing people. I almost kind of feel like kind of like you're kind of calling us dumb, like we can't keep up with the story just because we played a little bit of content on someone else's game and a little bit further ahead. I don't think that's true, and I haven't really seen that be the case for myself or anyone else that I played with in games that do allow you to do that. So it's just It's more of a preference deal, I'm sure, and I'm still gonna play Redfall. I'm just not going to be. I just know now for a fact that like some people that I would have played Redfall with are probably not going to play the game, or I'm gonna have to when I play with them only play in their world because they're not going to be willing to play the same content over and over again in other people's world because the developers didn't allow that persistent progress for everybody.
Well, the thing that would be interesting, I mean, and the thing that would be hopeful, and I haven't read as much detail on that game because I've been surprised by the positive uptake on it in the first place, being that it's a 4-player co-op looter shooter coming from a studio that doesn't have any proven pedigree in that game style and genre before. But there have been times back in the day, and there are game designs where say you can have multiple characters, and so I would have characters that would just be for doing my run with a friend, right? And then I would have my real character who I would be using in my own single player campaign. So it'd be nice if they provided, I mean, in Borderlands you could have multiple characters, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't. Yeah, I've never done multiple of the same kind of Vault Hunter, but I've always done like all the Vault Hunters. So yeah, you can have multiple characters, and it's not like progress you've done with one character carries over to the next. It's a completely new instance, a new campaign if you create a new character, which is, I mean, the way it should be, honestly. But at least you're able to use vaults to kind of like carry some like really high powered weapons for that level over, so that your other characters have an easier time going about the campaign, but you still do have to go through it again.
Yep.
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to transition to something here. Well, first of all, hit the like button, people, for crying out loud.
Exactly. It's like 50 likes for 170 people here. Like 120 of you bums can't even hit the like button. I'm saying, I
hit
know
the like button.
I know you guys suck at first person shooters and can't aim worth a damn, but at least your finger can hit the like button, right? On your phone. Like at least you can like tap that, right? Right?
Yeah.
I see a few people can. They figured it out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's other ones that still tapping the screen. They didn't gone back 10 seconds by accident,
Yeah,
like
one would assume as much, but yeah. But,
technology is it's hard. I don't know.
I guess it is for some people, but so 343i. Let's talk about them real quick because
oh my god.
To me, they're like the bad news bears, or what I would call the equivalent of the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Can't get right, huh?
No, you just can't get anything right. Dan Snyder's under investigation for potentially taking money off the books. Having two separate set of books. And then his coach
trying to turn his cheerleaders into prostitutes. I mean,
and then and then the whole his defensive coordinator makes an asinine comment. Jack Dorillo, you are a fucking idiot, by the way. Calling the riot, the January 6th insurrection, I forget what word he used to describe it.
He says it's a dust up,
a dust up. Like really,
like what happens at a bar. A couple of people get angry, they're drunk, they get into a fight. It's just a dust up. It's something. This dust up, people dying. And
no, he's like, why are we having hearings about this? Really, people attacked the fucking Capitol. That's why we're having hearing. Like, if you don't understand the gravity of that, then I don't know. Anyhow, so they remind me of 343. Kind of reminds me of the Washington Commanders. Look, Craig. The issues with Halo Infinite development, Halo Infinite launch, and now this unfortunate name that they gave I think was it an armor skin, if I remember correctly.
It's a nameplate. It's a nameplate
for Juneteenth. Somebody approved this. Bonnie Ross, maybe it wasn't Bonnie Ross. Somebody there. Somehow you. So when we have this conversation about Xbox leadership, right? And how they oh man, and like just like the management of the studios and all the stuff that's happened. Um, it's like then this thing happens, which is a PR issue for them, clearly. But Slomo, what happened here, man?
What,
First of all,
yeah,
and tell everyone what they actually did, the name and everything, because I like
okay,
that part.
so
Yeah.
so this is what happened. They were going to honor Juneteenth, and if you're not aware what
Yes,
Juneteenth is,
Juneteenth. Yes.
The Juneteenth holiday is a holiday that was made a federal holiday, official holiday, celebrating when all of the slaves, African Americans who were slaves, were officially freed. Because when the Civil War ended and freed all the slaves, that didn't get like that ripple effect. Took a while to back in because how many years ago that was? Well, like in the 1800s.
1865.
Thank you, Dark.
Mhm.
It took a while to get to throughout all of the states and everywhere, but like Juneteenth is celebrating when officially all black people were made free. Now, 343 were, I guess, kind of choosing to celebrate that with a nameplate, which would have changed like the banner that's behind your name, and it, instead, but okay, so they did that, but the name that came up when you choose that was Bonobo. Now, many of you probably don't know what a bonobo is. A bonobo is a endangered species ape from the Congo in Africa. So immediately people was just like, "Yo, what the fuck? What what is this shit?" When this became apparent that 343 was what this was, they pushed the update almost immediately, changing it to freedom first, and then they pushed another update that changed it to just Juneteenth. Bonnie Ross, as well as multiple other people in leadership at 343, came out and spoke on it. But when they spoke on it, people, of course, wanted to know what the hell happened, what's
Can
going
I
on,
Slomo real quick,
and
man? Can I read her tweet
oh,
real
go
quick?
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's important because Slomo mentioned that Bonnie Ross did address this, and she said, "We were made aware of a palette option for our Juneteenth emblem that contained a term that was offensive and hurtful. The team immediately addressed this issue via an update." Then she goes on to say, "We are a studio and franchise that is committed to inclusivity. I can't even pronounce that word, where everyone is welcome and supported to be their true self. On behalf of 343, I apologize for making a celebrated moment a hurtful moment." Go ahead, man.
So they they when it came to explaining what exactly happened here, they said that there is a tool set within that they have in development called Bonobo, which is true. There is a tool set called Bonobo that uh somehow got named, that this asset got named that instead of what the name was supposed to be. And this is the mix up that somehow made it past QA, made it past all the checks that would have made sure to kind of like make sure like what does Bonobo mean? What is that name? Why is Bonobo named this? Especially if this is like a part of an update that you're doing where you probably want to make sure like since this is an important kind of like special moment thing that you're doing and not just any kind of new content that you're putting out that is correct, but whatever, right? uh I think justifiably so some people think it's bullshit. But I would say uh well, two things. 343 has to own one one of these things or own both of them. That you're either harboring racists or you're incompetent. Potentially both. But you're one of these things. Because if this was just an accident, you're incompetent for allowing it to get here. I want think this is the most like coincidental accident that has ever occurred. If it's an accident that out of the history of this game, or out of the history for one, the tool set goes all the way back to Bungie, and somehow ever since Bungie was in charge of this franchise, at no point did any asset ever get named Bonobo until this Juneteenth nameplate. That's odd. That's an odd coincidence. How is it just now, after all this time, after this tool set has been passed from Bungie to a different studio at 343, did this never occur until now? But it isn't just that; it's the fact that I've seen developers actually comment on this and say that's bullshit. It's just not. That's not how that works. I've seen like developers like Deli who have come out and said, "Hey, look, if this tool set, which isn't even in use with working with the nameplates or anything like that, if this tool set was in use and defaulted to a name that wasn't put in there, it would have." He said, as he told me, it would have had numbers within the name instead of just Bonobo. And I actually had to find exactly what he said. It would have like it all. He gave it a specific name that it would uh of characters that it would have been. So that's that it wasn't an accident. It was manually put in. And two, I know for a fact we're dealing with in IT, like let's say you create assets, you put things into a game, you have builds, you have software, you got code, you have a repository that you put this stuff in, and to make sure that in case like something catastrophic happens, you have a backup for this stuff. You can easily restore everything the way it's supposed to be. Now, when you have a repository, this stuff gets updated. If all of us on this panel have access to that, it's impossible for you to check things in or check things out without other people knowing that you have it or that you modified it or changed it. So when it comes to investigating how Bonobo, an ape, became the name on this Juneteenth celebration, you know exactly who created the asset, you know exactly who modified it, and you know exactly who checked it out and checked it back in and put it in the build. You know all these things because you have all the tools there to show you who did it, what time they did it, and all that. So it's just it's disrespectful to me that they would come out with this statement knowing that they one either know the person definitely know the person who did it, and that aren't doing. I mean, they may have done something about it, but they're not letting us know that they're doing something about this, so this never happens again. And for me, that's just the disappointing part because it's a game that I still occasionally play from time to time, but now I feel weird even once you play the game, knowing this is the kind of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. You know?
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's they offended, like I said in the title, they offended millions of gamers. They offended a lot of people. I'm just like I just don't understand how this happened.
Well,
Like I don't. Yeah, it's yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. Optimus, Logic, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
They offended me, and I'm not even black. Um, and that's that whole thing was it was like, what the fuck is the matter with you guys over there? You know? And I've listened to so many people. I mean, I even listened to um Ash and Luca's podcast earlier today, and and I can hear the anger, in everybody's um voice when they were speaking about this. It it boggles my mind that this is continuing to happen in a culture that we love, which is gaming. Like why is does this keep happening? Like we live in fucking 2022, dude. Like what the fuck is going on with people's minds that they think this shit is okay? It doesn't fucking make sense to me at all. And it's because the way I was raised, where I grew up, it just everybody got along with everybody. Like I don't fucking understand it, dude. And it hurts me. It really does. Um and it just doesn't make any sense. You knew what the fuck you were doing when you put that shit on your game. You knew I mean, I'll give the heads maybe and the people that approved it somewhat of a leniency there, but they should have looked that shit up. They should have looked it up and said, "No, no, we can't have this." Before
But
they
here's the thing,
even
Artem, is
came
they
out with
know
it, dude.
they know what it means because they've said a lot of their tool sets are named after monkeys.
And if they knew
So
that, then why the fuck did they? Oh my god, dude! If they knew that shit, why the fuck did they thought this was an okay thing for Juneteenth, especially
I
for
mean,
something
red
that
flags.
is this? A lot of people don't know what Juneteenth is, and what Juneteenth is was a significant day when the Union soldiers went down to the South, and I can't remember what state it was or what. I think it might have been Texas. On June 19th, 1865, they went down and they rallied together to free the slaves of that state. It's a significant. I mean, yeah, a lot of people don't know what it is because it's a significant time in our history that I mean, it just it fucking frustrates me, man.
I
It makes me so fucking angry, dude, and
I
it makes me fucking sad because
I,
we live in a world where this shit is just it needs to fucking stop, dude. It needs to fucking stop. We need to stop this shit because and 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 I hate it when people who are quote unquote like, yeah, I'm all for, Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and then they don't even do anything to just do anything about it. Like
I gotta yeah I gotta say something real quick
it
and
just frustrates me, dude. It just frustrates me, man. It
I gotta
really
say
does.
I gotta
It's
address something in the live
ridiculous.
chat here. Some people are saying that this isn't real racism.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Yeah,
Like this.
that this is
Oh my
hold on,
god.
let me finish. So like I want to call you out, PYK, because you said it was a mistake. Chill out, people. No, like that. No, don't. No, you're not. Like you. Mistakes have consequences, right? And this is offensive. And for you to tell people to chill out, like what?
there's a certain kind of person that always has that response to everything.
and
Like
and and that's why
I don't
racism still exists, just because people like
I don't
that just brush it off like it's fucking nothing, dude. And
I
that's the
don't
problem.
yeah I don't understand that yeah dude, like come on.
There's
I mean,
always
there,
certain people that always try to tell other people who have been offended by something, why are you offended by that? Get
Yeah.
over it, chill out. It's not that big a deal. Is this about you? Did this offend you? Was this about a person that you identify as? If not, mind your fucking business.
Hmm.
Period. Like if it ain't about you, don't tell what other people they should or should not be offended by something. Who are you to tell other people what they should be offended by? And you don't even identify as the people who are being targeted.
Yeah, that shit's just yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it, like I'm offended by it, and there's plenty of reasons as to why I'm offended by it. And I don't like to really go into those reasons, but there are reasons out
Oh
there
my
as to
god.
why I am.
Hold on. Hold
You
on.
know,
Hey, X Hawk. Seriously, dude, you don't have to fucking listen to the show. Like, seriously, don't come back here, man. Like,
What
because
about
you are
this has
fucking
nothing to do with Sony. Like
yeah.
what
Like
he's doing, you're console warring right
yeah,
now.
you're
We're
console
talking
warring
about
over something
and
serious, dude. Seriously, get the fuck out of here. Like, don't come back.
like
Seriously.
if this was Naughty Dog, I'd be on the same energy. If this was
same.
Nintendo, I'd be on the same energy. So like cut that console war bullshit. This has nothing to do with any of that nonsense, okay? This is about what's right and what's wrong. It didn't matter who did it. If it was Rockstar, if it was CD Projekt Red, just so happened it's an Xbox studio. That's why you're in here with this whataboutism bullshit. What about Sony? What about Sony? This ain't
Nah,
about Sony right now.
seriously,
We'll talk about Sony later.
he
Shut the
doesn't
fuck up.
he doesn't have to come. Like, seriously, don't come back here. Don't because like
Yeah, and
that's fucking ridiculous.
and that's what keeps happening is people brush this shit off, and they think it's okay to just brush it off, and it's not, man. It's not fucking okay. How long have we been going through this shit? Like for and it fucking frustrates me, man. It makes me you can hear it in my voice. I'm fucking like I want to fucking cry right now because it's fucking maddening, man. Why do we keep going through this? Why, as a country, why do we why why it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because it never gets addressed. It never gets
No.
addressed
No.
and
correctly.
tha- and
There's
that's the
never
problem.
accountability. And some of the stuff that we see in the chat is what we're talking about. The lack of accountability. People don't want to hold these people accountable when stuff like this happens. Even if you want to be a brainlet and pretend like this was not intentional, if it was an accident, what do you think should happen to somebody who makes that kind of accident on for a big massive company that's worth billions of dollars
He
with a product that's worth millions upon millions of dollars? What do you think someone who allows that kind of mistake should be doing? They should be looking for a new job, because that's what happens in any other realm, in any other industry. When you make a massive mistake like that, you don't get to keep your job. You go looking for a new one. Go update your resume. Have a good
yeah.
one. Good luck
Yeah.
out there.
I also don't agree
So
with PWK who says that we spend so much time diluting racism with these things. What?
he has yet to be able to answer why he thinks it was just an accident.
How yeah, I don't know how
So
you
so so
dilute
like the
racism.
fact that
That's
you
I don't
literally
yeah.
have, despite everything kind of showing that it's not an
Oh, man.
accident, like you still are on the it's just an
Yeah.
accident. Whatever. I don't really need to like we can have a discussion without even mentioning anything he has to say in the chat, because
He's making excuses for blatant racism. That's
Well, he's saying he experienced
this
racism
whole
at a store
situation.
today too, but
This if you have experienced racism, then you know what it's like. I mean, I experienced racism, and I look fucking white, dude. Like I do look white, and I know that, and I know that I get a lot of privileges because of that, and I know, but once I'm like when I'm with my dad, my pops, like we get these fucking looks, we get the fucking, where I grew up, we were one of the first Latino families to ever live in that part of Michigan. And my grandparents went through a lot of shit. My dad went through a lot of shit,
And I still saw it even when I was growing up there. I saw it all the fucking time, man. And I saw it happening to my friends who were black. I saw it, you know, happening to my friend to and it fucking, oh god, dude. This is why I don't like talking about this shit, because I fucking get so goddamn fucking pissed off about it, because it's fucking racism is fucking stupid, man.
It is.
It's
It's
fucking
ignorance.
stupid. It's
It's
ignorance, and it
ignorance at the highest
uh,
level.
uh,
They treat people differently. They treat people based upon stereotypes, or they treat them as less than human, less than equal, simply
Mm.
because they look different than you. It is a level of ignorance that is profoundly unintelligent and dumb. I mean, there's no other way to go about it. Everything about racism is steeped in stupidity. If you look through history, the reason why
yeah.
people have been prejudiced, have committed like stereotypes and being prejudiced against other groups of people, is all based in like in mysticism. It's based in stuff
Mm.
that isn't true, and usually gets dispelled the more time you spend with other people. This is why when groups mix, when demographics mix, and people get to see and actually have conversations and discussions and spend time with people who come from different walks of life, they realize that the things that they were taught when they grew up was all bullshit.
The
Yeah.
They
the
realized
inner
that they realized that like I saw it so much when I went to college, even though I spent a lot of my time growing up, and being fortunate enough to travel to different places. By the time I went to college, I've been to Europe like 4 or 5 times by that point. I've been all over the country and met a lot of different kind of people that weren't just the people in inner city, chocolate city, Washington D.C. But like for a lot of other
You
people,
just call it.
when they go to
Go ahead, man.
college, well, I mean, back then that's what it shocked the city.
No, I
Now
know,
it's
but I don't think,
it's gentrified DC now, but
you know,
still.
well, it is
Um,
gentrified DC now. That's for sure.
but what I'm saying is that like people go to college, and then like you see a lot of like say like younger white people who grew up in a rural town that where everyone 99% of everyone looked just like them, and then they go to college and they meet these black people, and then they realize the stereotypes that they saw on TV weren't true, and movies weren't true, the things that their parents told them about black people weren't true. Oh, this person who's now my roommate is actually an intelligent person who had a 4.0 GPA when they were in high school and is here for school and not athletics. This is the kind of stuff that people learn.
hmm
And what takes learning that is being around other people to actually get that kind of understanding. It's unfortunate, but you see these kind of mentalities from people who would choose to do the things that they do, and you see it prevalent in the tech industry, because the tech industry is it is mostly white males predominantly
I would say you
across
see
the
it even
board.
in the entertainment industry too, dude. You really
Absolutely.
do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you see a lack of diversity, you get these instances. You get these reports that come out where you see what's going on behind the scenes with the sexism, with the racism, with the prejudice of different types of groups and minorities. You see all these things because there is no diversity. These people, although intelligent and brilliant in their own way and being able to make video games, lack social skills, lack the ability to speak to other people without sounding condescending, lack the ability to go to work and be a professional. And so when that's the case, look, Deli, who I brought up earlier, he believes what happened here is that, like he's seen at Ubisoft, they name things that are inappropriate, sexist, sometimes racist and hurtful, with no intention of those things make those names for things making it to final release. And that this was named after one of their tool sets, an endangered gray ape, pretty on the nose for black people, right? And then somehow the person who named it that forgot to change it before it went live. Now there'll be some people to be like, oh, that sounds like that's not very likely. But what's less likely? That this happened when we know about rampant racism in the video game industry, or that somehow within the decade that 343 has been running Halo, that they have never to this point named any asset Bonobo except for the Juneteenth item. What's more unlikely to you? You know, it's just like this is pretty simple to figure out. And it's just all about
It is.
acknowledging
Yeah.
it for what it is and holding people accountable to do something about it, which I think 343 is not being held accountable right now.
They're not holding anybody accountable. And the fucking sad ass fucking part about it is that they're not going to. Or we'll never know what they did with this situation, because you know why? These fucking companies brush this shit under the rug. They do it every time in the fucking film industry, and they've done it. They've done this is why, you know why stereotypes exist? It's because of the fucking entertainment industry. The entertainment industry started that shit back in the day when they made exploitation films, and things like that were just the stereotypes just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing, and it's not even like it and at the time they were like, they knew what the fuck they were doing. So to tell me that this guy or whoever made this shit doesn't know what they're doing, they knew what the fuck they were doing when they did this. And they
Yeah.
knew exactly how this was going to play out.
Yeah, let me grab a super chat here from Bulbur Country with the $2 super chat. Says 343 needs to publicly apologize. It's disrespectful. Bonnie Ross has come out and apologized on Twitter today. So yeah, it's a damn shame, and it's just I'm still shaking my head.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have
And
apologized, and I acknowledge the apology, but it's like the apology has no weight. It has no
yeah,
backbone. If there is nothing behind it, there's no
there's
accountability
no accountability.
behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah, if there's
absolutely.
nothing behind it to make sure this never happens again, and that like there's no change in one how you make sure things are ready for release as far as not being incompetent and allowing these things to happen in the future, and then change when it comes to your workplace culture and what's going on in the workplace to make sure like something like that isn't deemed acceptable or funny or humorous,
Yeah.
because clearly like if that is the case, that you have people naming assets after a tool set the name of an ape because it's funny, but whoops, I wasn't supposed to get out. Well, if you weren't having a shitty work environment in the first place, you wouldn't even be in this position to have to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
your Q&A was on point to make sure stuff like this didn't get out. It's
Remember
not
what?
it's not about like all that fake hey, we want to, celebrate this and celebrate that. We want to celebrate the LGBT community. We want to celebrate Black History Month. You want to celebrate all this other stuff, but meanwhile you're harboring racists.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, your internal work environment is anything but. Like, come on now. Like, and then now this is the same company. Now, I'm gonna get on Xbox now. This is the same company that's going to turn around Activision Blizzard. Really?
Remember what I said about best places to work list?
You going to
Take
turn around Activision Blizzard now? Really? You can't even handle the studios you got.
yeah.
And how
Yeah,
long
no,
has
it's
343 been with Microsoft?
Over
A
a
long
decade.
ass, yeah,
a
over a
decade, over a
decade.
decade. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the crazy thing, man, is that I understand that they do this shit for for the clicks, for the clout, man. They do this stuff like the the trying to celebrate different cultures when they don't even really know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know history. They don't know fucking they don't look shit up to make sure that it's okay. They just think, oh, willy-nilly. That's what they do. They just do it, whatever, like we have to do something for this day because, it'll look good in our eyes, and it's like, no, no, do your research, make sure you know what the hell you're fucking doing before you even post anything like that. Before anything ever happens like that,
Mhm.
make sure that it doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
and anybody who's doing that at that company should be fucking fired and banned from the industry. Blacklisted. That's what we call it. We call it blacklisted. I don't know what they call it in the fucking in the gaming industry, but we call it blacklisted, and they should be blacklisted at never to ever return to anything remotely has to do with entertainment ever again.
Yeah, let me grab these super chats before we wrap up the show here. Tactical Gamer with a $10 super chat says, "I feel y'all. It's BS. I've experienced racism from Japan and Korea to here in the U.S. to the U.K. The best thing we can do is educate, call it out, and be the best version of ourselves." And then he follows up with another $2 super chat. It's human nature, unfortunately. So no, well said there, Tactical Gamer. Yeah, I agree. There's got to be some accountability. We haven't seen that yet. So, but that definitely needs to happen. So. Logic, unless you don't have anything else to say, I'm going to wrap up the show.
Yeah, go ahead and wrap up the show, man. I would try and explain all of this from the software development perspective, and I don't know that would be helpful or just make things worse.
Okay. All right. So look, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us. Really appreciate it. Please hit that like button. 81 likes. We can get up higher. We have over 150 people watching right now, but yeah, big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us tonight, and big shout out to our guests this evening, Dark Optimus and Game Logic, and Slow-Mo.
Yo.
You have a show tomorrow.
Yes, I do.
Where is it?
It was on my YouTube channel by the same name, Slow-Mo Backslap. We'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel, as I said. Will be me and although he couldn't make it tonight, another panelist for BRAP, Game and Forte. We'll be doing our review of the Xbox Bethesda Showcase. Probably talking a little bit about some of the stuff that we talked about tonight about this 343 thing, and in addition to some other things like potentially the only leaker out there who's 100% accurate all the time, the snitch, coming out and saying that we might be getting a crisis. It's definitely not you, Enrique.
What are you talking about, man?
Because you are not 100% accurate. You might be batting like a 10%
you're
average.
a snitch, but you ain't the snitch.
but no, like he's apparently leaked that Crisis Core. Well, in his own way of kind of like letting people interpret what he's saying.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
Crisis Core remake is in the works with Square Enix for all platforms, so we'll be discussing that too. But great show as usual. Logic and Optimus, glad to see you guys once again. And despite some outliers in the chat, it was a pretty cool chat for the most part. And hope you guys have a great night.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Slow-Mo and Optimus and Logic. Thank you again. Really appreciate your time as always. And we'll be back. I don't think there'll be a BRAP rant this weekend, but it's Father's Day weekend, so I'm gonna enjoy myself. Finally got the pool ready. Gonna kick back.
It is Father's Day weekend. We never get any, like Rodney Dangerfield out here. I never get any respect.
No, we don't.
Never get any respect, man.
Father's Day, and I'm actually speaking of Juneteenth. My firm is actually in observation, and we're actually closed on one day, so I have a 3-day weekend. I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. If for all the fathers out there, have a happy Father's Day. Say Father's Day. Enjoy time with the family or whatever it is you like doing. And we'll see you all next week. And we're out. Peace.